All right, we're diving into the world of AI today.
Buckle up.
Not robots taking over, well, not exactly.
Not this time.
It's about how we're going to govern this tech that's evolving faster than.
Yeah, it's moving at a breakneck pace, that's for sure.
And the good news is we've got our hands on this UN report on governing AI just for humanity.
Which is a hefty read, I have to say.
It's like the ultimate instruction manual, right?
Yeah.
To make sure AI benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Exactly. And that's our mission today, making this report digestible.
Love it. So paint the picture. What's the report all about?
Well, it kicks off with a pretty stark comparison. They call it the Wild West out there in the world of AI. Things are developing so rapidly that our ability to manage it globally just can't keep up.
I can barely keep up with the latest smartphone, and we're talking AI that could reshape everything.
Pretty much. We're talking jobs, healthcare, how we understand the world, the whole shebang. And it's not just about stopping the bad stuff, but making sure the good stuff actually reaches everyone fairly.
Okay, that's a big task. So how do we wrangle this AI rodeo?
They propose a global science squad for AI,
A science squad?
like a global council of experts from all different fields who can give us the honest truth about AI, what it can do, what it can't do, and the real risks involved.
So like Mythbusters, but for algorithms, busting those AI myths wide open.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of global cooperation, making sure everyone's on the same page with these AI laws.
Right, because different rules in different countries could be chaotic.
Exactly. Imagine if one country's data privacy laws are so strict that companies can't access the data they need to train AI.
Oh, wow. That could really stifle things.
And no one wants that. That's where the UN steps in, as that neutral ground where countries can work together on AI governance.
Global referee, keeping everyone playing fair. I like it.
And then there's the need for standards, because right now, the AI world is a bit of a free-for-all,
A free-for-all how?
like with definitions. A word like fairness, it means something different to everyone. We need that shared vocabulary.
It's like trying to build a house without agreeing on what a wall is.
Exactly. And these standards need to go beyond just the technical side, too. We need to incorporate ethical considerations from the get-go.
So baking ethics into the very code of AI.
It's not enough to react to problems. We need to anticipate them. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. The report also highlights the amazing potential benefits of AI.
It's not all bad, right?
Right. But here's the catch. Those benefits might not be distributed evenly. We're talking about a potential divide between the AI haves and have-nots.
So some countries could get left behind.
It's a real risk. Some nations might miss out on the economic and societal benefits of AI simply because they don't have the resources.
And that's where the report solution comes in, this capacity development network they talk about.
Exactly. Think of it like a global AI boot camp, a space where everyone can learn how to not just use AI, but actually build it.
From AI consumers to creators. I like it. But even with the skills, you need the resources. Not every country has a Silicon Valley.
Right, which is why the report also proposes a global fund for AI, dedicated to providing those financial resources and leveling the playing field.
So every nation has a seat at the table when it comes to AI.
It's about equitable access.
Okay, so we've got our myth-busting science squad, countries working together, and a plan to empower every nation. This is starting to sound good, isn't it?
It is. But we can't forget about the fuel that powers AI data. And this is where the report gets really interesting.
Data governance, it's like the Wild West all over again. So what's their plan for keeping things in check?
It's all about responsible data management. They make it clear. Data is essential for AI, but it can also be a source of bias and exclusion.
Right, if you're not careful, you end up with AI that's amplifying existing inequalities.
Exactly. Imagine training an AI on a data set that's not representative of the real world. The results would be disastrous.
So how do we make sure AI is trained on data that reflects the beautiful diversity of humanity?
That's where the proposed global AI data framework comes in.
Okay, tell me more about this framework.
Think of it as a set of guidelines and incentives to ensure that data is collected, shared, and used responsibly in AI.
Like a quality control label for the data that's feeding these AI systems.
Exactly. We need to make sure it's ethically sourced and representative so the AI we build is fair and unbiased. And here's the thing. This whole AI thing isn't exactly a new conversation, right? The UN's been involved for a while.
Really? I thought this was all pretty cutting-edge stuff.
It is. But the report actually points out that the UN isn't starting from scratch. They've already got several agencies working on various aspects of AI.
Oh, interesting. So who's doing what?
Well, you've got the ITU, the International Telecommunication Union. They've been dealing with the technical side of AI for a while.
Okay, so the tech side is covered. What about the ethical considerations, all that stuff we were talking about earlier?
That's where UNESCO comes in. They're all over the ethics of AI.
Right, UNESCO. So we've got the tech side covered, the ethics side covered. Seems like everything's taken care of.
Not quite. We've also got the World Intellectual Property Organization, the World Health Organization, even agencies focused on crime and security. They're all trying to figure out how AI fits into their work.
Okay, so maybe too many cooks in the kitchen. With all these UN agencies already involved, do we really need a more unified approach?
That's the big question, isn't it? And the report acknowledges that while these individual efforts are valuable, there's a lack of coordination.
So a bunch of separate pieces that don't quite fit together to form a clear picture?
Precisely. They call it a patchwork of initiatives, which could lead to things slipping through the cracks.
And their solution is more bureaucracy?
Not exactly. They actually propose creating a dedicated AI office within the UN Secretariat.
An AI office? Tell me more.
They envision it as a central hub for everything AI within the UN.
Like a conductor leading an orchestra.
Exactly, making sure everyone is playing in sync, that we've got a unified approach to AI governance.
Makes sense, breaking down those silos. But is it enough? I mean, AI is moving so fast. Is simply coordinating existing efforts going to cut it?
That's where things get even more interesting. The report doesn't rule out the need for something more, shall we say, robust down the line, something with a bit more teeth.
More teeth. Like what?
They draw a parallel to how we regulate nuclear power, the International Atomic Energy Agency,
Okay, wow. Why the comparison to nuclear power?
because they're talking about a scenario where AI becomes so sophisticated, so powerful, that the risks could be on a global scale.
I see where they're coming from now.
Right. So in that kind of scenario, they suggest we might need a dedicated international agency with real authority, not just to advise, but to monitor and enforce regulations.
So a global watchdog for AI, someone who can hit the brakes if things start to go off the rails.
Exactly. Being proactive, not reactive. Anticipating potential issues before they become global crises.
Sounds like a smart move. But where do we draw the line? How do we balance safety with innovation?
It's a tough question, and the report doesn't pretend to have all the answers. Every nation has to weigh the risks and benefits and decide what level of regulation is appropriate.
One size doesn't fit all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure. Successful global AI governance requires everyone's voice to be heard.
It all comes back to finding that common ground, right?
Absolutely. We need open dialogue and collaboration. We need to understand each other's perspectives and work together to shape an AI-powered future that benefits all of humanity.
It really drives home the point that this isn't just some abstract tech issue. This is about people. This is about our future.
It absolutely is. And I
Yeah.
think that's what makes this report so compelling. It doesn't shy away from the tough questions.
Right. Like that question at the very end. You know the one I'm talking about.
What about your role? Chills every time.
It really makes you stop and think because it's easy to get overwhelmed by the scale of it all, you know? The global implications, the technology itself, it's a lot.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it can feel like we're just along for the ride.
Exactly. But this report reminds us that we're not powerless. We all have a say in how this AI future unfolds.
We have a responsibility even to engage with these issues, to educate ourselves and to speak up.
It's like, yeah, the technology is complex, but the question of how we want to live with it, how we want to govern it, those are questions we can all grapple with.
And should. We can't just leave it to the experts, the policymakers, the tech companies. We all have a stake in this.
Absolutely. It starts with asking questions like, what is this AI being used for? What data is it being trained on? Who benefits from its development?
Exactly. And don't be afraid to demand answers. We need to hold these companies, these governments, accountable for creating AI that serves humanity.
It all comes back to that idea of governing AI for humanity, which is a pretty great tagline, by the way.
It really is. Because it reminds us that this technology, for all its power, is ultimately a tool.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill. It all depends on the choices we make.
It's up to us to decide what kind of future we want to build with it.
Well said. And on that note, I think we'll wrap things up. This UN report has given us a lot to think about, and I hope it sparks some important conversations out there.
Me too. Because the future of AI is not something that's just going to happen to us. It's a future we're all creating together.
And that's a wrap on today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us as we explored the complex and crucial world of AI governance.